We're so excited. So can you tell us a little bit about your work?
Sure, yeah. I've been funded by the Foundation Fighting Blindness for quite a few years, along with things like the National Eye Institute. We started off looking at some gene therapy studies in mice, and we did some work showing its proof of principle so that it worked, and that has now been taken on by clinicians and is actually in a clinical trial. More recently, what we've been doing is taking cells from patients and growing them in a dish in the lab, so that we now have an exact model of patients that have, in this particular case, a disease called Usher syndrome 1B, which is a deaf-blindness disorder. So that's what keeps us amused down the hill.
It's a lot of work. Do you think we're close to a cure?
Sure. I think in principle, the path for the cures are fairly straightforward. It's now really a matter of defining it so that we get the right, in the case of gene therapy, we get the right form of the gene that is actually required by the cells. Cells tend to make a lot of different types of proteins from even the same gene. And we're learning that you just can't assume that it's one type. You've got to really examine in human cells what the type is. So that's what we're trying to do now, and I think that's the last sort of step before it becomes pretty straightforward, I think. Yeah.
And is there a website you'd like people to visit to check anything out?
Well, at the Stein, we have our own website, the Stein Eye Institute. You sort of work your way down through to research labs and so on. One of the labs is ours. Foundation Fighting Blindness has a really good website in terms of explaining a lot of the diseases and so on to the lay public. So that's probably that's the site to go to, foundationfightingblindness.org.